Welcome to my all-in-one build-along Cities Skylines 2 tutorial. In this tutorial you're going to learn how to plan, create and develop your city, and while we do so you're going to learn all the tools while building. So we're not going to look into the tools individually, but we are learning them as we need them. So sit back, relax and enjoy this pretty long tutorial series, but you'll be covered greatly. So let's get started. But every good tutorial does start in the menu. So before we jump in the map, we are going to start a new game via the menu because there are some very interesting bits on this very screen over here. Now, if you click on a new game, you are facing these wonderful maps over here. More important than the thumbnails on the left-hand side is the right-hand side over here. So this first one, the Archipelago Heaven, for example, does offer the European theme as the main theme. The temperature varies between 8 to 30 degrees Celsius, which is rather warm. It is the northern hemisphere. We have only a buildable area of 16%, so that's one of the smaller maps available. We do have all the outside connections, which is roads, trains, ships, airplanes, and energy, which is one of the new ones in Cities Skylines 2. We do have natural resources as well on this map. We've got 11.4 square kilometers of fertile land. We've got 233 kilotons of forest, and we've got also 16 kilotons of ore, and we only have 6.8 thousand tons of oil, which is rather low in comparison to all of the other maps I've checked out. And this is what you need to consider before you build your map or your city, because that will vary what kind of things you want to do. So for example, in this build over here, you may only be able to build one big city rather than having more connections. On other maps that are a lot bigger, you will have a lot more control over what you build. So if we click on San Francisco, for example, we've got 42% of buildable area, which is quite ridiculous. And this means you can almost build 2 or 3 quite nicely sized cities and connect them with each other. Making airports and stuff like that is very, very easy. But we are going to go with this map over here, since this one is quite humongous. This is the Tampere map, and this one is in a rather, a little bit colder region. It's very central Europe, and we've got -13 to 24 degrees Celsius. We've got all the connections we need, and we've a huge amount of land. So let's get started. Well, we can't just start over here because we have to check some more things before we start the game, and this means we have to check out what kind of stuff we want to have. So first of all, we're gonna call this Camel tutorial, and we do maintain the European set as the base theme. We do not want to have left-hand traffic. I don't want to go to the Great Britain kind of area here. We do leave the natural disasters turned off for the moment because I don't want to deal with them in the tutorial. We can talk about them later, but they are not as necessary for the tutorial as it would seem. We do not use unlock all, and we also do not unlock all the money or have unlimited money because I want to show you how you get there. And we obviously disable the tutorial. There are in-game tutorials, but if you want to follow those, you could have done this already and you would not have clicked on the video, I guess. So we are doing this without tutorials, and I'm gonna guide you through all the things in here. Now it's time to start the game finally. Alright, we are greeted with the map, and the first thing I always do is hit spacebar to pause the game, because the second you are in the map, you will face a money drainage, so to say, as soon as you build. And in order to make sure that you do not basically have the problem that you lose money from the get-go once you start building, I hit pause to make exactly sure this. Also, it helps with maintaining a good sunlight because you will be in fall sooner than you might think, and this is why. One thing that is a little bit different, you cannot choose the tile you're starting with because you first of all have to have a first milestone and then start your tiles from over here. It may be added later on, but for the beginning you can't do anything with this because you have to start building. But before we do build, I'm gonna give you a huge overhaul or like an overlook of the UI that you have in front of you. Now let's start very simple with the lower left hand side. This is where you normally click on the map tiles, where you can then just select more tiles to purchase more land. You do have basically your milestone progression panel over here. If you click on that one, this opens the progression panel, and you can see the left hand, the first tab is development, in which you can choose which terms of development you want to follow. At the moment, we don't have any points to spend. We are talking about this sooner than later. But and we've got the milestones, which will tell you what you get with the next milestone. So as soon as we have the tiny village unlocked, it's going to give us 600,000 credit. We are going to get 1 development point, and we're going to get 3 expansion permits. So that's the first thing to understand. This is basically all the currencies you need to know in this game. This obviously is your main money with what you do everything with that one. You spend this to build stuff and blah blah blah. The development points are used to unlock the development items in here. This is the tree you can see for all of the different areas you want to click on, and then you have the expansion permits, which you will spend in this view down here with the map tiles, where you can unlock the next map tiles, which will become more important in a couple of minutes as soon as we branch out with our city. The last thing you see is achievements. If you are kind of an achievement person, this is interesting for you. It's not really that interesting for me, but there you have it. It's just in here. Now, closing this panel leaves us with the speed control of the game, and also which tells you which time it is and which month. This is interesting for you in order to understand when you are hitting fall or winter, because that will influence how much energy consumption you have or how much air condition usage will be. And if you're short on energy, a seasonal change may be a good or bad sign for you. That is also important to notice. Then if we continue over here, we've got the city information, where you see all the demands coming in, ordered by residential, commercial and industrial demand, and they are also just separated. Then later on, the office demand will be embedded in here too. And if you click on the city information, that'll bring up your overall city information, why certain things are desired or not. As you can see, at the moment we don't have really high demand because we don't have any unoccupied buildings, we haven't zoned anything, and we don't have any jobs at this point. So you can see there is nothing for them available. Commercial demand will be there if there is labor availability, which we don't have at the moment. Obviously, no one is living here. We have no high skill labor availability, and we have also no local demand. So you have to match and meet these things first of all to make sure that this demand is unlocked. City policies will not be unlocked before milestone number 4. We're going to talk about then, and then we continue with the next panel, which is the zoning tool. We are going to talk about the zoning tool as soon as we've laid out the roads, but just to keep it simple, in here you've got all of your zoning tools available. All of the different tabs will bring you to industrial, to commercial, to office zones, and the specialized industrial stuff we are going to talk about as soon as we've unlocked that. And we continue over here with areas and districts. We're going to talk about next one. The same goes for signature buildings. We have to unlock them first. Roads is our main tool for the beginning. We are going to talk in detail about the main road tool in a second. That's going to be our first huge part of the tutorial, and then we are going to spend a lot of time building the layout, and we do not lose the time now to talk all about the toggles, because we will learn about them on the road, so to say. Now, electricity is also very important, obviously, because we need to get our city powered. We are going to talk in detail about all the toggles as soon as we're there, and also specifically on the left hand side, these toggles will be explained as we do the roads, and then you'll know about them. Now we also have water, and in the water menu, everything you need to know about that will be done in a couple of seconds as well. And also that goes with the other things. I'm not going to talk about all these other things. This is everything we need as soon as we've built the city. Healthcare, death care, we've got the garbage management, we've got education and research, fire and rescue, police and administration, transportation, and we also have parks and recreation, as well as communications and landscaping, which is a very new thing in this game. If you haven't used in Cities Skylines, haven't used mods in Cities Skylines 1, you know that you weren't able to manipulate the terrain very much. And if you needed to or could, then you needed to deal with soil. This now is completely gone. You can manipulate the terrain as much as you want without any soil or land or whatever restrictions. And if you want to flatten out your entire area over here, you could just simply do so. Because the tool is so simple, we're going to spend a little moment on this tool. It's rather simple. You just have the control of your brush on the left hand side. This increases the strength. This increases the size of the brush. Very simple. You can and turn on snapping if you want. You can turn on and off the contour lines. I will highly recommend to always keep them turned on, because that's going to help you tremendously. And then you've got the 4 tools basically. I'm going to say 3, but it's actually 4 tools. We've got the shift terrain tool with like pressing left does bring it down, pressing right bring it up. Then you've got the terrain tool with level tool. You can right click to set the height, and left click is to drag whatever you want to do. Then we've got the soften terrain tool, which basically does exactly what it says. because it does soften the terrain. And we've got the slope terrain tool. Right click does put the lower area, left click the higher area, and then you can just drag it over to create like a slope. For example, if you do it like this, we click down here and we click over here, then you can just drag that area and it creates this perfect like incline. If we take the smooth tool now, we can just smooth that out. As you can see, it makes the contours go into each other way more simple. Then we've got, if we want to flatten that, for example, and say this is the level we're going to go, just right click here and then you can just drag and everything will be aligned to this area. If we would smooth out the corners again, this is what happens. Very simple. And then over here, as I said, left click brings it up, right click brings it down, and this looks ugly. So this is where you need to have your, you know, tool to flatten it again, and if there's anything left, you just smooth it. Very simple tool. You don't need to understand too much about it. We've got also a couple of trees. We'll talk about the trees in a second. And then we've got our bulldoze tool, which does exactly what you expect it to do. Then we have a couple of other things which will be locked along the line. City economy, obviously, transportation overview, and city statistics. Everything will be unlocked as soon as we've gathered some experience, and that is exactly what we need to talk next about. But now here's the first major toggle that was brought after some feedback of some creators into the main UI, because that is important once you want to switch from overground to underground. This is down here, and you will need this rather often, and this is why it's very good to have it down here. Then we've got the photo mode. Honestly, I'm gonna make an entire tutorial on that as soon as I have understood exactly this tool. So we're gonna leave this out for this tutorial series because it's rather complicated, and hopefully we'll getting some fixes, because the tutorial would actually be rather complicated. Now, then we have got some bubbles over here. That's the last thing to talk about in the lower end of the screen. By the way, just to quickly mention, this is the happiness of your city. It's like a little nice indicator of how happy our citizens are, gives you a little bit of an idea what you need to do. And then we've got the radio over here. Very interesting bit. You can turn off the ads, which I will rather do right now, because otherwise we would have someone talking the whole time into our video. And also we've got two radio stations at the moment. We've got the public citizen radio and we've got the urban city radio. We will go to the, basically we will stay here with the radio first, because for a tutorial I think that's nicer. Then we also have event journal, which gives you an overview of all the events happening. Well, makes sense. You can follow citizens along and then just pin them here to see what they do in order to understand if your infrastructure works, for example. And then we've got Chirpy again, the Chirper, which gives you this nice idea of the people using Chirper to, you know, talk about their needs, desires, and problems, which gives you a good idea what you need to spend time and effort on. So with that said, most of the UI is talked about. On the left top side, we also have a lot of toggles to understand what's going on. Actually, they are all kind of heat maps things, where you can see where desirability is available, how the happiness is, but we will spend more time looking at these heat maps as we need them. You just need to know they are down here on the info panel. And the last thing I just need to talk about are the central elements, but they are very easy to understand. Weather and the season. It gives you the city name, we've got the population, and our money available. My god. Okay, so with all that said, we are going to go building some roads now. So before we build roads, we have to zoom out a little bit, and not only the perspective of the game, but also in terms of what we are going to do. Now, let me give you a little bit of an insight first of all. Your roads are actually the guidance of your entire project. It's not only building a good layout, it's also about how you are approaching the game. And there are some differences in Cities Skylines too. Let me give you a couple of examples. First, you need to understand where are our potential connections to our city. We obviously have the highway connecting in the center over here. We've got a train line going through here. We do also have a highway going here up into a tunnel that gets, you know, out here again. So that means we can do a connection up here. And we also have obviously the water, which is not really that much interesting as of the moment, but it's going to be more interesting later, very much around here too. Now, what are we going to do is we have one more thing to do before we start. We click on this wonderful overlay of zoning, and then you have the chance to see the wind if you click on industrial zones. Now, the wind is very important for you. meaning you need to understand if you can get energy from the wind. That's very important for your whole city. This map is brilliant for that. And you also need to understand where you can put your industrial zones in order to have a good zoning, but also ensure that you do not pollute the areas you will require. For example, water, just as like over here, or your city center where your people live, basically. Now also, we are within the first tile, but it would be interesting to branch out. Good for you, by building roads and facilities and stuff like that, you already earn enough funding, or founding basically, to get enough progression to purchase the first tile. So what we are going to do now is we're going to make sure to go into this region. I would bet that there is fertile land in here as well, but also there is a huge forest that we can use for some forest industry, and also there is a good little hill over here that will secure us from some noise pollution once we do the industrial zone to the right hand side and maybe make our city to the left hand side of that little hill. So let's get started with the road building actually. Now this is going to be a fun one because building roads in this game is absolutely fun. If you start with the city in the beginning, you have the road tool unlocked with a couple of options. Now, let's start with the basics. You've got the tool mode, which goes to straight, to simple curve, to complex curve, to continuous, and also you've got the grid tool. We are going to talk about elevations. You have different steps over here. I would recommend, by the way, always to keep it to the second one. That gives you an elevation of 2.5, is a bit more control. The highest is 10 meter, and it makes your roads relatively ugly, to be honest. I'm just going to quickly show you. If you go to elevation, let's say we start with 0, then we lay out this whole thing and we click it up to like 10 meters. You can see you have to drag it out very far in order to make like a gentle incline, and if you make it too short, it's already pretty hefty. If you look over here, that's not really nice. That's a crazy incline and it's gonna create some problems. Now, you do not also want to click up down here. That's actually annoying. So what you better do is you just click picture up or picture down, and that's going to raise your road easily for you. Just one more thing to notice is depending on how high you actually put the road, it's gonna have either pretty nice little support structures, or it turns into a fully fledged concrete foundation which you can use for keys and stuff. So that is pretty nice as well, but be careful with that. It's sometimes a little bit tricky to get them right. Well, we're going to delete those two. Now let's just first of all finish up our controls we have over here. There are snapping options down below. Now you've got the toggle on and all off snapping over here with that little star icon. Then you've got the snap to existing geometry, which basically means everything that is already in here. So for example, you can see it snaps to the road, and it would also snap to a building, for example. You can also hit snap to zoning cell length. This is, for example, as you can see, these little tiles over here gives you access to those. Then you've got the snap 90 degrees to angles. Basically now you can see it doesn't go to the 90-degree angles, but if I turn it on again, it'll snap easily pop, pop, pop to 90-degree, and the same goes over here. Very simple if you want to build straight areas. Then you've got the option to snap to the sides of a building. Well, we do not have a building over here, but you can imagine. And you've had snap to guidelines, which basically is in here, and the guidelines are given, as you can see, once you build. And for example, if I go over here, there would be a guideline turning from this one. Turning on will show you. There is the guideline appearing, and now it snaps to that one. So I would recommend at the beginning, keep them all on. We will be using this without the snapping options in a bit to show you what you can do with it. But for the moment, keep them on at the beginning. That makes life simple. Now let's just quickly go through the different tools so you can see the differences. Obviously, building a straight road makes this. Doing a little curve, I'm just going to show you. You click once, and then you drag the road. You can see different things appear. Once you click a second time, this is where you define the length of the road element, but now you can start dragging it over, and you can see over here if you do exactly the same length, so it's 128 meters on both, you create a perfect 90 degrees turn over here, as you can tell. Now if we do the complex curve, I'm just going to do this over here, you click once to lay out the straight line, then you click a second time to define the first point, there you can see, and then you can click a third time to have control over how much of an angle the whole thing will have. This is a proper thing you want to do for example, highway connections and stuff like that. Makes your life a lot more easy. So if I click this down, you can see we make this nice little roundish shape over here. Then we've got the continuous one, which goes a little bit like building a curve like so. And then it automatically lets you continue on the road you build, which is super good to create nice sweeping areas in which you have always a nice connection between the two nodes that created the road. That's basically all you need to do to understand the road building. Very simple stuff at the beginning. So what we are going to do right now, we are going to enlarge our roads. So this was the basic tutorial for the roads system, how it works. We also, as a last thing, by the way, before I forgot, is the parallel road mode. You can build two roads next to each other, and they have the perfect, you know, as you can see, the perfect distance between each other for everything you do. Very simple as well, and you can change the different, you know, step in between. If you go to the lowest, it's very close to each other, and if you click it all the way out, it's very stretched far away from each other. So very simple again to understand, and you will be actually learning along the way very simply. And then you've got the different types of roads. We start with the small roads, we've got medium roads, large roads, highways, intersections. That will be some prefabs for you. They're very helpful. We've got roundabouts. The first one is unlocked, the other one you still have to unlock. Parking spaces become very important later on as well, and we've got the road services. Very good stuff. Now let's actually go in, and the first tutorial is going to be a long episode, but we are going to lay out now the grid which we're going to start with, and the next episode is going to go all into zoning and everything that you need to grow your city beyond your layout of the road. So basically we are going to go until we have the first milestone unlocked. Now, as I said, I want to have a core area where the road goes through, because this is from where we are going to build everything, and I want to have it actually a little bit lower down in order to make sure that this is nicer to build some bridges above it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go one down. I think 2.5 meters is fine, maybe even 2. And then we've got the lowered road. I think I'm just going to drag it into the middle. Do not mind the shadows over here. This is a little bug that is still existing. Hopefully it's going to be fixed soon. You know, I'm still playing on the pre-release version of the game, but this is actually how I want to do this over here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to now use the continuous road tool, and then I'm going to build like a nice sweep-in curve that goes all the way here, and then just meanders through that area and is already shaping our connection towards our industrial zone. So that's going to be our industrial zone in a bit. Now, what we got to do as well is we're going to slam down a small roundabout somewhere over here, for example, and we're going to have another one right at the beginning. This is what we do. We will have to change this later on. I will have to change this road into a one-way direction on both sides in order to ensure that we have a good in and out go, because we need to make some good road connections over there. But what we do first of all is we're just going to keep our things simple. So what we're going to do is, and not parallel mode, that's not what we need. We're going to start from this roundabout, and we're just going to lay out our thing over here. I want to do a little bit something that goes down here on the lake side, or on the river side. I think that's pretty neat. So let's go and create like a little K over here, and we could also try to get this one higher, and then over here just maintain the height. And I'm gonna go to the continuous again, just to ensure that it looks nice. So we're just gonna go here and then just try to ensure, I mean, we are on the continuous, which didn't work out, so I'm just gonna go to the straight over here, just trying to make sure that we get as much done as possible over here with the K. There you go. Something like that is neat. So we have like a little river road going on, and then I'm just going to build something over here just to ensure that we have something along the river line, and then I'm going to bring this back into this area. And now I want to do something parallel to our main road, and we also connect this back up over here. So this is the first thing I want to do. And now we have like a very nice quarter. This is where I want to have some of the first residential zones. And from over here, I'm going to branch out to do more of those. And this is going to be where I want to have some of the commercials. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm just going to build like a square where exactly we will have the wonderful areas. And now we do have an ad turned on for whatever reason, and I'm just gonna change the radius thing first of all. I'm not sure why they talked into our build. Anyways, there you go. And I'm going to continue building this around here. So in order to avoid some traffic issues later, we will have to make this one way around, but this is where I want to have some commercials zoned. One more trick you want to see once you do build, the circle you do actually see around the build is the size of your grid that you will get for zoning. So for example, if you build the road over here, we have an issue because we wouldn't zone everything to the optimum. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this all the way down until we have the optimum, and then I'm going to zone this further. You can see now the grid connects to each other actually very neatly, and just going to do the same over here. Really sweet. Okay, so this is a good head start we have with these little tiles, but I also want to have something on the other side, you know. That's why we're just going to bring this over, and I want to keep this little ruin over here, whatever this is, but this should remain part of it. So I'm going to keep building a little bit of the outside stuff over here. Let me just also do a bit of a nice road here to the water side again. I'm just like a big fan of having the water side connected properly, and then just bring this all the way back. Nice. Look, that looks already nice, like a little town. And we do have to zone the industrials later, but you can see we've already 1/4 filled of our progression panel. What we will do next is we will branch out a little bit more to ensure that we have more living quarters around this commercial zone, and we have to figure out where we do another commercial zone. So first things first, I'm gonna build like another road that goes all the way in here. I'm just gonna change to straight road again. We can leave a little bit in the middle. Putting some trees there will help us also grow our city organically and nicely. And then we will also bring a nice road that goes a little bit along here. So that is pretty easy to do. We're just gonna check again for the continuous tool, and then we're just gonna drag this all the way here. So I'm gonna drag this a bit more here because we have this roundabout, which is going to be our connection, which we are doing right now. So remember, we went 2 times down. This is overlapping. I think we're just gonna try this from over here and just bring this down like so, and then we can bring these 2 roads to each other as well. And then I'm going to use that and bring the whole road up here again. So we have like a nice in and out going connection, and then we can connect this area pretty easily with the other one. And let me just also bring this to a straight connection. This is where the toggles come in very handy. You know, if you do it like that way, you have it very nicely connected. Super nice actually, and the layout is becoming very neat looking at this point. I really do appreciate with everything done that we wanted for the first moment, and I think the last thing I'm just going to connect is this bit over here. So that's good. We can also slam down like a roundabout over there if we think that's helping us, and I think this is fairly decent. I think I want to have like one more main road going through here. I think that is a good one, and then the rest will be done with like smaller roads. You can see also that I did use some of the raised streets in order to make sure that hopefully this will help us to make the growables look a bit nicer. Sometimes you have a bit of an elevation issue. This is why I like raising them a little at the beginning. Sometimes that helps a lot with the growing. Now you can see this all works out pretty neatly for the beginning. I think one more road is the one that we connect over here. And now to make it more organic, I would highly recommend to build with the alley tool, because this is something you will require to make things really look organic, like a real city. And also it helps you grow areas that are a little bit smaller. You know, I just want to build this in here just like so. Don't want to try to not destroy too much of these, so this time around I'm just going to do it that way. Really nice as well. We can also have like one more neighborhood go in here, and then let's do the same on this side. I basically, you know, in order to maximize the area we have, I'm just going to do it that way. And if you stay on the grid, by the way, what I haven't done too much, you also just create like roads that go in here, but I wanted to change it a little bit simply because it sometimes is good to have some gaps in between to make it feel more organic, you know. Also from over here, I want to bring one in, just bring it all the way in here. And we can also have like a straight connection there, which is neat. And then from, actually, I don't want to I think I do not want to connect to the commercial zone. So this is why I'm just bringing that one into the center. That is sweet. And then just let me just drag one more in here. So that is, yeah, the layout is becoming very nicely. And I think on this side, I want to bring the commercial zone to this right-hand side over here. So I'm just going to bring another road so that it does connect, so we can actually branch that a little bit more. and then just like so, and connect to the roundabout. Very sweet. And let's do the same over here with the sides, and you can see we are gaining XP and XP and XP. So this is a good basic layout. It's nothing fancy, you know, nothing crazy, but it will become crazy as soon as we put down some very important stuff. So over here you can see the wind is on our side. It's very much helping a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to produce some wind with some wind turbines. We can actually add some more very simply, but at the moment I'm just going to really quickly connect the energy to the grid. Did I actually? Oh yeah, that did connect. Okay, sweet. So we've connected this. You can see this gained us some really good XP. And now I'm just going to do the same with the groundwater stuff. Over here you can see usage is like 91%. We're going to start with this right away. It's connected to the grid super nicely, and this is fun. And we also need a water, this is the sewage outlet. As you can see, you also need to guide the water out, and this is where it becomes important to look at these arrows. Now you can see we don't want to have any wastewater in our area, and this is why I'm going to put this all the way up here in the very back. And first of all, let's start with one. I'm not sure how many we will need, but this one over here does not require a road. That's a good one. So I'm just going to bring this all the way here, and I'm creating a second connection actually into our city. There we go. And now we are almost done. You can see we are only left a couple XP. So this is where you basically keep on building a little bit more. So maybe we just build one more wind turbine, but easier than that, we can also bring a transformer into the city, because that one is needed anyways, for the connection to the outside world. So this is where we put it over here. We are almost done, by the way. A couple more roads should do the trick. And then we do connect it with the power line. So we have to look, where is the power line? There is the power line over here. You can now bring this underneath the ground. So you click also picture down, and then it's brought below the ground, and you can easily just drag it over there, connect this. 20 XP. So I think we just need a couple more roads. You know what? I'm just gonna click this out over here until it's perfectly nicely designed. There you go. Milestone 1 unlocked. And also tutorial 1 done. So we just gonna stay over here. I hope you found this very helpful for the first tutorial. The second one will follow super quickly. In order to get them all, make sure to subscribe to the channel. You know that stuff. I hope it was helpful. If you've got any question, put it down in the comments. I will be answering all of them, and I'm gonna try help you out as much as possible. And if you got the game, just enjoy it and have fun. Try around and ask me questions if you have any. Until then, have a good night, have a good day, have a good morning, whatever time you have. Stay safe and goodbye.